it's Jeanette. Let's talk about PTSD service dogs. What are they? What are the benefits and what are the considerations? This is a topic near and dear to my heart. I started my nonprofit. Started off as Blue Sky Buddies because my brother was an Army Golden Knight, and then I transitioned it to 4E Healing Hearts so that I could gift dogs to others that weren't a veteran. And being able to donate dogs to veterans and or others that have PTSD or other traumatic events or whatever in their life, if they need the healing power of a dog, has been my mission. And you know, I've said this so many times, dealing with grief is really difficult, and it was just a way that I found that every dog I place, it heals a little bit of my heart too, and I feel like brings me closer to my brother as well. So my nonprofit's super near and dear to my heart, and veterans are super near and dear to my heart. My brother passed away 10 years ago, and what I saw was, at that time, I can't speak to currently, but the help that he did not receive from his benefits for being a veteran was really, really disturbing. And the way that he was handled and managed and had to fight for help and care for his medical issues, he just destroyed his back with jumping out of airplanes for so long and them delaying surgery, and it just was one thing after another. It just snowballed, and I just can't help but think, like, if they would have just handled things from the get-go, I wouldn't have lost my brother. So helping veterans is definitely really important to me. But what I've also seen and learned is PTSD isn't just for veterans coming back from traumatic events, what they've seen and living in that fight or flight for so long, being deployed and all those things. It can happen here. It can happen in marriages. It can happen in childhood, where there's longer sustaining trauma and abuse, physical or emotional, that people can also start to deal with PTSD or complex PTSD. Complex is throughout a longer period of time. It can also happen to people that have experienced one tragic event, like a shooting, if they've been part of a mass shooting, or a serious car wreck. Like, our brain can do funny things. And so here's how a dog can help. But the first thing I want to caution, and I have this discussion, this is like the first thing when people apply for a service dog from us through our nonprofit, where we donate these service dogs to people, is if you have extreme social anxiety, or you don't want to be the center of attention, or you don't want people approaching you in public, then really think about a service dog if you want to take them in public. Because unfortunately what it does is it makes you more visible, more people approach, more people cross your safety bubble. People are trying to get attention from your dog. Like, it creates more attention on you. And for some people, like, oh yeah, nope, but my dog can help me in these ways. But yep, no, you're right. I don't want them in, daily public life, just for some things, to help. So here are ways a dog can help somebody with PTSD. While it's not a cure, dogs can definitely help. The first is helping find a purpose and a meaning. This is especially important for someone that's experienced a loss and they are not sure their identity anymore and what is their purpose. This is especially prevalent for our military men and women when they get out of the military. They had so much structure and purpose, and then they come home and they just don't even know how to function. It's really, really difficult to integrate back into society after living the way that they have and seeing the things that they have. So it just helps kind of redirect, and it gives them someone to take care of. So they do have to get out of bed. They do have to walk the dog. They do have to take the dog to the vet and grooming or whatever. But also, it's a really safe animal in their life, because if they do have a bad day and they stay in bed all day, you know what? There's going to be no judgment. The dog is not going to be mad at them or expect anything else from them. And so taking that weight off of them, I think, is really, really important, of having that no judgment. The dog loves them just the same, whether they went on 3 walks one day and none the next day. It's okay. So it gives them that little bit of safe space to heal and work through some of the severe issues that people can have with PTSD. There's deep pressure therapy. I think this is fantastic when someone feels like they might be spiraling or on the verge of a panic attack, and your body physically starts doing crazy things. And unless you've experienced it, it's really hard to explain. But I think a dog on command, or you can train a dog if you start doing certain things like rocking or hyperventilating, the dog can lay on you and give you deep pressure therapy. And it just helps remind you more than anything. I mean, the weight on you helps, but it also will help remind your brain, okay, I'm safe. My brain's doing silly stuff again. It's okay. I acknowledge that, but I'm okay. And whether it's breathing exercises, whether it's you try to align your breathing with the dog, whatever it does, it helps to start grounding you again so you can get back down to your base level and calm your nervous system down. Because when you're in constant fight or flight, you're easily triggered. You're easily scared. You're easily in those stages. And over time, it does do permanent brain damage. So when your body's constantly in fight or flight, it does change the way your brain works. So having a dog lay on you, and then having, of course, therapy or whatever help you have to bring yourself back down to base level and calm yourself down, because the lasting physical effects of PTSD and living in fight or flight, freeze, fawn, there's just such a long list of medical conditions that then people do suffer from. So the quicker and the more efficiently we can have people get out of that, the healthier they'll be too. So deep pressure therapy is super valuable for those suffering with PTSD. Having now a routine is really important. Again, I think that goes back to having, a purpose and a routine, and it just helps distract people, whether it's in public, whether it's body blocking, whether it's, just a companionship and routine. It just helps distract the brain from potentially ruminating, from calming down from triggers, from bringing you back to reality, helping remind you, live in the present, live in the moment, and saying those whatever affirmations or whatever you've been given to bring yourself back down to essentially reality. And I know that sounds crazy, but the brain will do funny things to try to protect you, even though it doesn't always know you're actually not in danger. Like it was just a car backfiring, or, it's just a specific item, but it will trigger something in somebody. And oh my gosh, and if they spiral and they go to a really dark place, it's much harder to get out of. So the goal is to have the dog help prevent that you don't go into really deep spirals, potentially save your life, right? The suicide rate of those with PTSD is really high, unfortunately, and something that, dang it, I would love to change. And the power of a dog is one modality, one part, one tool that can help people with PTSD. Of course, talk to your therapist or your doctor. I'm not a PTSD expert or certified in any of that, but I know that there's a lot of other treatments as well. There's medication, there's therapy, there's a lot of other things. But adding a dog to that, if you are a dog lover, we're just assuming that, right? If you're a dog lover, can be highly, highly beneficial. And we will donate puppies, because there are some clients that prefer and need, honestly, to raise their own dog, to be a part of that, because what is more exhausting and time consuming than a puppy? And what brings more joy and silliness to your life than a puppy? So for some people, it's giving them a puppy that displays qualities to be a good PTSD service dog candidate, and others will bring a dog in that has a lot of that training solidified, and then we train them, the human, to continue with the training and help them in ways specifically to that veteran or person struggling with PTSD. It is so near and dear to my heart. Like, I just go, and if this sounds familiar to you or a loved one, go apply for one of our donated service dogs for PTSD or a puppy. And I think the number one thing is, don't say there's someone more deserving. I don't want to apply. No, you know what? Sometimes you just have to stand up for yourself. What do you have to lose? Head on over to 4ekennels.com or 4ehealinghearts.com. I promise the application process is not painful. You will have to meet with me on Zoom, and we'll just hash out and talk about expectations. Are we able to help you? And do we potentially have a dog in training right now that could change your life and heal your heart? So go apply. Reach out to me. I'm here. You're not alone in this. Trying to vet potential clients can be really difficult because, one, we know that they may not tell the truth. I know a story when I was in college and I wanted a dog so bad, and I went to the Humane Society and they wouldn't allow me to have one because I was in college and I didn't own my own house. And I remember walking out of there feeling really defeated, and I remember very clearly thinking, I would be such a good owner, and you're euthanizing dogs. And so that always stuck with me. I don't want to just judge people based on an experience in their life or how big their yard is or if they live in a high rise in New York. I've had some of the best clients live in apartments, and I've had some of the worst dog owner clients that have a big sprawling acre fenced in yard. So for me, those don't define whether you get a dog or not, whether if you have children, whether you get a dog or not. Like, I don't have all these hard, fast rules. I think it's far more important, and things just aren't that black and white with people. So of course, by asking where they live in their yard and all of those things, here's a few other questions I have found that can be really profound in helping a client decide what they're looking for, so you can help guide that placement better. Because you can't just say, like, what are you looking for? I mean, you'll get, well, I want a female, I want this color, I want a male, I want this size. But I'm talking the nitty gritty temperament of the puppy. And when we still don't all share the same language of what does it mean to have, nerve strength or confidence or assertiveness, how does that display in a puppy? How does that correlate to me in my life? We're still working really hard to build those bridges. I've worked really hard in that, just not only educating breeders and having a cohesive puppy evaluation that then can be relayed to clients, and then a book that goes home with the client that will help them raise this puppy and taking those temperament traits into consideration. So really, really effective. But here's a few things when you either on the phone, email, worst case, in person, Zoom meeting, however you want to do it. Here are some questions. Write these down and start asking these. I think if you're not asking these, if you haven't taken the mini series from me yet, I think you're going to find, holy cow, I learned a lot more than you have been with simple questions like, where do you live? Do you have children? All right, the first one is, I got to look at my notes so I don't forget. I'm going to have to get readers soon, you guys. I feel like I need my readers on. What dogs have you owned and what breed? So do you own any dogs right now? So what other animals are in the house? I think that's highly important. And then I always ask, if they have a dog in the house right now, I'll say, again, you can't say, is that dog dominant? Like, is your dog a bully? You can't say a bully, but by using specific things like, is your dog the boss of other dogs? Does your dog take toys from other dogs? Does your dog always eat first and push another dog out of the bowl? When the dog plays with other dogs, do they lead most of the play? Like, are they bossy? That's important to know when you're placing a puppy there, because if you place a really bossy puppy, not that there'll be issues. I think there's a lot of misinformation about, well, will my dog like my puppy? Can I bring my dog to pick out a puppy? look, if your dog overall is a good dog and there's not severe behavior problems, they're going to get along fine because your neutral established dog is going to raise the puppy. So you're not going to have the same issues you would when you bring two established adult dogs together where there's been trauma or aggression, or we don't know the life history of the dog, and then of course the breed. So there's so much unknown with that we just don't know. But when you bring a puppy in for your established dog to raise, the chances of an issue are a lot less. I will say though, I'll caution the clients, if they have a female that's a bossy, dominant dog, whether to humans or to other dogs, I'll say let's just not don't pick a female puppy. I mean, the chances are still low that there'll be a problem, but it can be more likely. Same thing with a male. So I'll just say pick another gender. Like if you're concerned at all about this, choose another gender, and that almost always eliminates the issue. Then I say, based on the dogs you've had, whether now or in the past for your whole life, what have been your favorite things about that dog? That really gives me an idea of what these clients really want and need. Like, I love that my dog was always laying on me. I love that my dog gave me eye contact. I love that my dog was so outgoing. I love that my dog was so brave. So really ask them, like, what did you really love about this dog? Or, and if they've had a lot of dogs, their favorite dog, what did you really love about that dog? But remember, eye contact is a genetic predisposition, so I look for parents that naturally give eye contact, but people see it as the dog loving them more, but really it's really seen as a genetic component. I'm not saying because a mom or a parent doesn't give eye contact that the puppy still won't, but it's just like any genetic marker, the puppy may or may not get it. So it's just something to be aware of, that eye contact doesn't necessarily mean that, but if that's important to somebody, you can start looking at that in your puppies early on. And then what was their least favorite thing about their dog? And what I'm wanting to know here is really, what is the ability of this person to handle and train and have presence and leadership in the house? Because if they say my least favorite thing is they always got on the couch and I told them not to, okay, ding, ding, ding. All right. No assertive puppy for you. No strong-willed puppy for you, because you've already said essentially that that's difficult for you. So look and see what's their least favorite thing. Or the puppy was just too shy, or the puppy would roll over and give their belly. Like, that's what drives me crazy. I've had clients say that. So really pay attention to what do they really mean, and then taking those qualities and lining them up with our 12 temperament traits and making note of that. Number 2, what do you ultimately want out of your relationship with this puppy? You'll catch people off guard because they're like, well, I don't know, I just want a dog. I'm like, absolutely, but like ideally in a perfect world, what do you want this dog to be like? What kind of companion do you want? And like, here's where it gets like into dating sites where people will start listing, I want my dog to go everywhere with me. I want my dog outgoing, or I want my dog to really just only love me and not need to be seeking attention from everybody else. Like, you can try to get down to some of those things and help guide placement as well. Like, what in an ideal world, what are you wanting out of this relationship with your dog? Maybe they want it to work on the farm. Maybe they want it to bark when strangers come, depending on the breed as well, and depending on what you breed. And if you breed something really specific like Great Pyrenees, hopefully most people coming to you want the dog to do what it's supposed to do. Its function to protect and guard a farm, land, family, other farm animals, that sort of thing. So look in alignment as well of, hey, this is what I breed, and here's the breed characteristics. Does this even match on what this person's looking for? Because we don't want people to get hung up on, well, this breed's cute, or I think this breed would be cool to have. Like, we have to try to weed those out and make sure that they align. And the last is, what is the home life like? How long will this dog be left alone? What children are in the home, and how old or how young are they? What other animals we talked about? And how much time do you really have devoted in the first year of a puppy's life? Because there has to be a lot of time given. You can't be at work all day, then go out and watch a movie and go to dinner, or your kids are constantly in sports. And when you really look at like, well, how often am I really home? Maybe it's not the right time to get a puppy right now. I want to make sure that they really do have the time to care for a dog and meet their needs. This idea of, well, I just want to get the kids a puppy and I just feel like I need to do this and this is just the cool thing to do, or whatever, all those deciding, mitigating factors that people may have. At the end of the day, these are our dogs and they have their needs and they need to be met, because otherwise they're the ones that suffer. The top 3 reasons that dogs get rehomed, so really pay attention when you ask these questions, really put put stars next to them. The top 3 reasons why dogs will not stay in the home is energy level. So if we place too high of an energy puppy with a family that doesn't have as much time, or when they talked about their worst thing about their dog was a lot of energy, be like, ooh, okay, let's look for lower energy dogs. So really focus on energy. Focus on assertiveness, dogs that push boundaries with people that can't hold them, push boundaries with children, or people that are like, I really like that this dog was assertive and confident and took what they wanted when they needed it, and it was really fun to train them and go do things with them. So assertiveness and energy. And the third one is prey drive. Prey drive can get dogs in trouble if not placed correctly. They're chasing kids, they're chasing the cat, they're chasing squirrels and bunnies and off leash and all these issues. So look at those 3 traits alone, get dogs rehomed more than any. When you walk through rescues or animal shelters, we're dealing with dogs that have high prey drive, high energy typically, and then assertiveness / confidence. So whether they're fearful and aggressive because of low confidence, or so assertive and high confident that they're just difficult for most novice or family dog owners. All right, there you have it. Some kind of loopholes in a way to connect and talk with your clients to really help guide placement so that these matches matter, because that's where the magic happens. That's where the true power of a dog happens, is getting these matches correct. If you haven't heard, I've got a new live puppy evaluation class coming up in February. I haven't done this in like 3 years, you guys, so come with me. It's 4 weeks. If you miss a class, they'll be available to watch on video. Go sign up now, steep discount, badassbreeder.com. Come and join me, learn more about evaluating, learn more about these specific traits we're talking about, and we'll even talk about how to guide these placements exactly how I did, looking at real puppy evaluations, like what are our concerns, what are the pros and cons, what kind of families, how would we guide this placement for this specific puppy based on these 12 traits. Health testing. Where do you start? What do you do? What's acceptable? What's practical? What's accurate? We could talk a long time about this, and those of you that have been breeding long enough and have researched and followed how much things have changed anyway. Health testing is a can be a very controversial topic for many reasons. Here is just, if you're new in this and you're feeling overwhelmed, especially because you're getting so many conflicting opinions, and other breeders can have very, very strong opinions on this, and it's their way, and that's the only way, and that's the only right way. I would like to just give you an overview so you can decide where your compass is, what feels right to you, based on what you breed. And ultimately, like I always say, and I know we can't just assume everybody has good intentions, so I'm not saying that. Well, I am saying that. Assume everybody has good intentions and we're breeding for the betterment of our breed and temperament and in health, because I think we tend so much to look at conformation and health and we forget about temperament. And that is very clearly documented in the show ring, where you have dogs that, for the most part, very much exude the conformation of a breed and potentially should have good health, but the temperament doesn't line up with the breed. And I'm not saying all of them, but that is definitely something that has become more and more of an issue. So first and foremost, we cannot forget about the temperament of the dog either. Even if the conformation is perfect and all of our health testing is great, please don't just sweep a shitty temperament potential under the rug and breed willy-nilly either. I think that's just as irresponsible. And I think it's funny how people get so attacked about health testing when that really only sometimes gives us a snapshot of something and we don't care about temperament. Okay, so there's that. First and foremost with health testing is there's a lot of things we can test for, but that only tells us right now in the moment. For example, does this dog have Addison's disease? It does not and cannot tell us, will this dog have Addison's disease in the future? So some health testing can really be like a false sense of security, and that makes me a little nervous because breeders and or clients feel like, oh, I got a perfectly healthy dog. I'm never going to have health issues because this breeder did all of the correct health testing. So I'm pretty clear with my clients. Look, I've done what they offer, but please understand, if I could figure out cancer, I wouldn't be here right now. I mean, if we're seeing cancer in similar lines, absolutely, I'll remove those lines from my program. But based on what I breed, it's just inherited. It's part of the breed. There's nothing I can do about that, but keep continuing to remove lines where we see a higher incidence of cancer in those specific lines, not just the breed. So there's breeds that have predisposed medical issues. So the first thing I would say is to have some kind of guideline, like who says what should we be health testing? What we have and what I feel like is a fairly good guide is the AKC. If you go on their website, you can go by breed. So based on the breed, a Mastiff, a Doberman, a German Shepherd, a Golden Retriever, a Poodle, they will tell you what they feel is necessary for you to health test based on data they've collected that, hey, this breed is struggling with this health issue. Golden Retrievers can struggle with hip issues. Poodles can struggle with, whatever, Van Wildebrands and Addisons. But some of that's really tricky, like I just said, because it only tells us right now in the moment, does this dog have this medical condition? Not will it have it in the future? So it can be really tough as a breeder. So we do, let's say you follow all the AKC rules of what you think they should health test, and you even go above and beyond. Let's say you do pen hip for hips, you do OFA for hips, you do OFA elbows, patella, you do the eye exam and get it certified through OFA. You do a heart, and then depending, there's different levels for the eye exam and there's different levels for the heart exam. You can do some more research on that, but you can have like a vet just hold a stethoscope and make sure there's no heart murmur, and you can get an OFA certificate, or you can take them to a cardiologist. So for like Cavaliers that have predisposed heart issues, and it's commonly seen in the breed, we take them to the heart specialist and get the really extensive heart test done on them. But again, it says, yes, right now their heart looks good. They would be cleared to breed. That does not mean that this dog will not have heart issues later in life. And it does not mean they won't produce puppies that will have heart issues. So it's really tricky balance of fighting what is already in the lines, because that's the breed of the dog. And things that we can potentially catch and not breed them for. So I think there's a lot of misconception in the public and amongst breeders that we somehow have this magic wand that if we do health testing, that there will not be any issues. And there are so many things that we cannot test for. And I think it's unrealistic and unfair that we think that we can have healthier dogs than even humans. We're not testing all this stuff for humans, right? Like, did you test your potential mate before you had kids and made sure hips look good, heart looks good, eyes look good? What genetic issues are in these lines? If our DNA is combined, will our children, what are the chances of them being carriers? And we're doing that for our dogs as much as the data will give us. DNA testing is another one. We do DNA test dogs so we can see if there's potential genetic carrier possibilities and not breed those two dogs together, because then the percentage of a puppy having something is even higher. So what we can do as breeders is be as responsible as we can, of course, and test whatever we can for, because that's all we can do, right? And then just watch our lines. I think tracking data is just as important, because a lot of those health testing results may not, again, tell us long-term, could this be an issue? Could we see this later in the lines? So tracking your data is super important. And that was one thing when I devised my own software, the Empowered Breeder software, is when you put a parent in, you can enter all of their health testing information. And then when you go to pair two dogs, it will look at the health testing and it will remind you, like, hey, alert, you have a DNA carrier for CYYD or whatever, PRCA. Like, you have two carriers, don't breed these together. Like, caution, or you have two lower hip scores or whatever. So it will even remind you if you go to pair two parents together, which I love. It's always nice to have that reminder, right? Better than trying to go grab paperwork and look in binders. It's once you enter it in the software, then it's there. The other thing I love, though, is under that parent, there's notes, and you can track anytime a client calls you 3 years from now, 4 years from now, and say, hey, look, I just want you to know that, our puppy got an autoimmune disorder or cancer or whatever. Have you seen this in the lines? I can go back and look under that parent, the dam and the sire, and see, well, have I seen this in the lines? And if not, either way, document that so I could just have dates, the client, anything about that litter, that puppy. And I could also upload the vet records. So if, the dog died and it was unknown, well, I always ask, can I have the vet records? And I can upload those vet records on my software as well, so that I can keep all of that data, because that's truly, at the end of the day, the best way to improve our lines and improve our programs is to track our data and make sure that if we do see an issue, that's honestly, that's all we can do. If we see issues in lines, we remove them. The same thing with temperament. If clients are reporting temperament issues, I know it's always hard to tell, like, are we really dealing with aggression, or, is this human error? I know there's so many factors, but document it privately anyway under those parents, and just explain the situation, the circumstances. So if you start to see a pattern of separation anxiety or whatever issue, temperament wise, submissive urination, fear of strangers, anything like that, if you start to see a pattern, then maybe, not maybe, but rethink. I'm not saying get rid of either one of those parents, but maybe not put them together. And then it's really fun to look at the data too when you pair, a female with a different male and see, are there differences in genetics or temperaments, which one's a better breeding. And especially helpful if you want to keep your own lines for your program. I think there's nothing more powerful than to know, like, I've had these lines for so many generations and I've documented the data, so I'm definitely want to keep these lines in my program and how important they are. Or, you know what, it's time to let these lines go and bring in new lines. So it's really important to keep the data for so many different reasons. Anyway, there's the down and dirty of health testing. Of course, seek out to your mentors, check out the AKC website if you're just getting started, and it'll kind of give you a guidance of what problems they see in that specific breed. DNA testing doesn't hurt. It doesn't give us a complete story, but why not do it? At the end of the day, why not do as much health testing as we can, so that we can continue to try to improve lines that have had devastating years of bad breeding, and or however the health issues got introduced into the lines, and try to get it out, though, without, here's the other caution. See, there's so many variables. We don't want to get the gene pool so small we focus on one genetic issue and we start releasing all those dogs with that one genetic issue, and then we have a small gene pool, because then guess what's going to happen? Other issues are going to start to pop up. So it's a really fascinating concept and idea, and like I've always said, and I've said from the beginning, holistically, we have to look at everything holistically. Confirmation, temperament, health testing to the best of our knowledge and with the technology we have. And holistically, do we believe in this dog? Do we believe that this dog can give other people our intended reason for breeding this dog in the first place, right? That's what it comes down to. And you're the one guaranteeing and warranting it. It's on you. So if there's an issue, you're the one backing it up and paying for it or replacing the puppy. So keep that in mind. All right. Thanks for coming with me today. Bye. If you want to learn more, check out some of the classes I offer, or the books that I have available, or even the software I devised just for you, head on over to www.badassbreeder.com.